this kind of problems for 6 years, and coincidentally, it's the second time I'm here, and I was here 7 years ago. So you know who to blame. Let's talk about products. I believe we are all here building things, and things have users, and we want those things that we build to be great. So let's talk about what makes things great. And those shopping experiences are all great in their own way, right? So Amazon is convenient, AliExpress is cheap, and Mercadona is absolutely unbeatable if you run out of milk or toilet paper. Like, you're not going to wait a package for one of those things, right? And those companies, they're choosing different ways to become great in their own space. So a big company can do a lot of things. They can choose to build a beautiful site. They can choose to have experience that's very fast or efficient or comfortable, have great customer support. But we, as people who are building those products, as developers, we only have one lever that we can pull, and this lever is technology, like the technical choices that we're making when building the product. And so, yeah, I'm Wojciech, and I would like to talk to you about making those decisions and how they influenced what we built. I run Brains and Beards. We're a consultancy where we build mobile applications for, well, we help other companies actually build their mobile applications using React Native. And we've been doing this for 9 years now. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, that's about me. Let's build an app. Oh, we have an image that did not load. Well, anyway, let's overlook this technical mistake. So obviously we're not going to have a time to build an actual app here. So let's build an imaginary app, an app in our heads. So let's play a small game. I'm going to walk through technical requirements for a product. It's going to be very simple. And everybody in their own head is going to build a data flow for this app. How would you imagine the data flow is going to go? So it's not awkwardly silent. I'm going to narrate what I'm thinking and where I would be going with that. So very simple domain. We have a to-do list. I have 3 tasks, well, 3 example tasks I want to do. So I'm a kind of person who uses Redux for everything. So obviously, I have my Redux store, and I have my create task action that will put those tasks in an array. And I have a complete action that when you complete it, it's going to remove the task from the array, right? Task has like 2 attributes, a name and a description, what actually needs to get done. And ship it, yeah? But obviously, no product is finished with the first version, so we realized that actually it's pretty fun to keep up the momentum, mark things as done, and look at the end of the day, hey, I did all those things. So in my imaginary app, in my imaginary implementation, I would add a Boolean flag that marks something as completed, and I just leave it there. I never delete this task. And there are more requirements coming. We'd like to have deadlines. My wife, who you also, by my mistake on the beginning of the presentation, so she likes to eat lunch at noon. So I have a strict deadline to cook it before. But the laundry, I'm free to do wherever I want. So we need to keep track of that, right? Again, super simple change. We add the deadline field. We put a timestamp there. Easy peasy. So you already know how this works. Simple. We're warmed up. Got the muscles going. Let's take it up a notch. So obviously, we're not going to be successful in the to-do app space because it's so saturated. There are so many apps, and you have to differentiate yourself. You have to solve a real kind of problem for a particular person and hope there are enough of people like that. They're going to share this app, and you're going to find your market. And it's hard. So let's solve the problem that I have. And my problem with my task management is I start the day with 20 things to do. 15 of them are overdue. I do about half of them. And at the end, I still have 20 tasks. I don't know how this happens, but I guess that's the reality of being an adult. And what would help me in a to-do app is some kind of retrospective where I can take a look. Hey, my day started like this, and it ended like that. Like I can take a look and see maybe patterns, what went wrong, what I could change in the future. So, for example, I started with my free task, and then in the meantime, I actually went to buy groceries instead of doing the laundry. It makes sense. I know that this day went well. I just like chose to do a different thing. So how do we implement that? We're still like in a fairly easy place, right? So what I would need to track is when the task was created, when it was completed. So my Boolean flag changes into a timestamp. And we add some kind of create that field. And it's pretty simple. We can display that. We deploy it, and it turns out that real life does not work like that. Because I started using the app, and I realized that in the morning I was supposed to do the laundry, but actually my wife told me that she's going to do the laundry, and I should clean the kitchen. So can I mark the task that I did the laundry? Of course not, because I didn't do it. I don't deserve the satisfaction of the task being completed. So I changed the name of the task to actually be clean the kitchen. And I was supposed to cook the lunch, which was meant to be a 15-minute exercise of overheating some pierogis from last night. But they're not there, and I have to spend 3 hours cooking pulled pork. And this was not reflected in the original plan. Like, all those things changed, and if I have my simple fields, I no longer have a way to think about what was it like before. And this is the moment where my naive implementation in my head like breaks apart. I cannot, well, of course it's computers, we can do everything. It does not make sense to go on putting more and more hacks on my initial implementation. It just, we should go back and rethink what we did and how we could do it differently. So let's talk about events. And events is like a super overloaded term where you have the keyboard events, you have like mouse events, you have the Redux events, and, but what I would like to talk about is domain events, which is our domain is task management. So anything that's related into me managing my tasks should be some kind of event. Like I create a task, I give it a deadline, I postpone a deadline, I complete it. Those are all things that influence the outcome. And they are events that are happening as I'm using the app. And in my original approach, I took a very simple step, and I was squashing those events to get the final state, because it was the final thing that I was interested in. Like, you could have a counter app that basically allows you to count things, and one single button that does +1, and you could have like events coming in, +1, +1, +1, and obviously, what you're interested in is the final count. Like, the only thing you need to store is the number 3, right? But there's another approach to doing that. So the same events are coming in, but you're actually interested in the fact that the user counted +1 on a particular date, in a particular location, on a particular device, for example. And then you would want to keep those events because they mean something for you. They contain information by themselves. It's not just the end result that matters. And of course, it's not anything that's surprising for us, because we're getting our bank statements. And when you look at the bank statement, it does not say, hey, you had $500 at the beginning of the month and 250 at the end of the month, and the rest is a blank page. No, it's not. It's a list of transactions that you can go through one by one, and hopefully, if you have a nice bank, it will all match up from 500 to 250. It might not match up, because there might be things that happen that bank will not tell you on a bank statement, like a fee that he does not want to remind you that they charge. And this approach would also solve the problem in our imaginary to-do app, where we could keep all the events that are coming and show our retrospective, and we can track all the changes that happened to a task, and we know that the task to do the laundry transformed into a task to clean the kitchen, and we know what's happening there. But what's more, we could solve other problems by this approach, because we can tell the user, for example, hey, I noticed that there is a task that you seem to do every Monday, but you seem to revise it 17 times before you actually do it. Maybe you should do it in a different way. Like, it doesn't seem like it's ready when you put it into our app. So it's a new features that come up that might convince people to actually use our imaginary app. Well, imaginary users, right? So here comes the bad news, right? It's not all nice and easy. Because there's no NPM package you can install or state manager that you can use to get it all for free. this is a solved problem, but this is a problem that's typically solved on the back end, but most often not in JavaScript. But the problem is solved nevertheless. So we can use the solutions that come from different places, but we do have to like roll up our sleeves and do the hard work of actually writing the code. But there's also good news, right? That sometimes it might be worth to do it. So I don't know if you know those two companies. Probably you know Jira because it's like world famous for how much the users hate it. Its interface is extremely slow and clunky, and there's not much you can do. However, Linear is a competitor who is known for the speed and real-time collaboration. It's a delight to use. And it's not an accident, because one of the founders of Linear tells a story that they made the technical decision early on that instead of doing the normal thing where you would start building the app, UI, show it to the user, see it works, and then like put the backend together, the first thing they built for this app was a sync engine that they're going to use between clients and backend. And because of this custom sync engine that they built for a project management, well, that you could use for anything, they are able to send events from client to the backend and to other clients in 200 milliseconds, which allows them to have the great UI, which Jira will never have, because the architecture they're using is completely different. So where am I going with all this? I guess in two things here. So one is we need to deeply understand what we're building to be able to understand what's the differentiator that we choose. What is the game that we're trying to win? Because if we're going to do something hard, we need to pick a fight that's worth it, that's going to be meaningful for our users. And the second thing is that I believe it's very valuable to be exposed to how other people are solving things. Other people, I mean, outside of what we do on our day-to-day. Because when things are solved in a different programming community, we often ignore those solutions, but I believe we should learn from them. And I see much more value into doing something for learning purposes, to do something radically different than your day-to-day. And instead of, for example, figuring out whether Yotai or Zustand is a better state manager, try to understand what's the difference between PostgreSQL and Datomic, and to see what ideas it can give you for the problems that you're trying to solve. Thank you for your time. If you would like to chat more about it, I'll be around, or you can hunt me down online. But yeah, have a great day.